Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the One More Jump podcast by Rise Pole Vault. Today we have an internal episode with all of the boys. We got me, Luke, Trevor, and John, all here to talk about the fun and exciting things we did here in 2023 at Rise Pole Vault. We talked about the future of what we want to do in 2024, and we got off topic a lot. But we were just having a good time. So, hope you guys enjoy this episode of the One More Jump podcast.
Alrighty, good to go.
You know what's really, I was thinking about this before, what's really awesome about a podcast on the day of a jump day is whenever it's actually a good jump day.
Oh, yeah. That helps.
Think about how much it would suck if you had a really bad jump day and you had to sit through this podcast right now. That would not be as much fun.
Not as much fun.
Yeah,
EJ at the World Championships got asked a lot about how it felt getting second, jumping 6 meters.
Really?
Yeah. Well, because it's like the highest place ever for a second place. Jumped 6 meters and got second place to Mondo.
That is pretty wild that you could jump 6
And he was, and they're like, "How do you feel? You know, you had a good day, you jumped pretty well." And he was like, "Well, I kind of sucks when you jump 6 meters and get second."
I feel like they're on Jumpers World the other day. They had that video of Mondo jumping like 20 feet from who knows how many whatever approach, and the caption was just, "It's Mondo versus Mondo."
It really is.
Mm-hmm.
It's Mondo World.
Isn't that crazy, man? It's really, really crazy that dude is that much further ahead. I don't know if that ever happens again in the sport. Like,
Just wait.
yeah, just wait.
Wait, 2024, baby.
So we wanted to do the podcast today just to recap like 2023 and just talk about what it is that we thought was cool and what, we thought was not so cool, and just kind of talk about 2024 too. So
Big year coming up. 2024.
Mhm.
Wee.
2023, I will just start off with, let's just do like, what do you think was the best part for you, like at Rise, like what we did in 2023? And I would say that like moving to this place was pretty clutch, moving to this place, especially like after our old place, because the transition to that was absolutely insane. And I think we should just like tell a little bit about the story of how like that transition, moving from the old place to the new place.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, that actual move happened in 2022, but a lot of our time 2023 is spent here. I think a big thing, and my favorite, was the media influence that we had, because like right after Reno, or at Reno, we kind of started a media Rise situation with John, and then from there the reach that we had across the world was like way bigger. However, a lot of those videos wouldn't have been as cool if they weren't filmed in here too. So
Yeah.
that's a big thing. And for me, I mean, me and Trevor selfishly get a way better experience vaulting in this facility versus the last facility, and having a place to do sprints and lift and do all of that in one centralized location, which is really nice.
Yeah. I would be interested to see how you would have vaulted in the old facility, like with it being so narrow.
Oh, okay.
And then like the ceilings, so these are 35-foot ceilings, and the old place was 23-foot ceilings.
Okay.
So like 10 feet shorter.
Mhm.
If you had a good jump and you timed it up right, you could get your feet in between the rafters.
Really?
I think. Yeah. Like, I mean, there was times where I was jumping at like a 65 bungee or something, and in the video, if you were filming from behind, like my feet, like we had rafters that went right through the middle though, but if you were looking from behind, the feet were definitely going like pretty close up there. So
I
here,
remember
that's not
getting
happening.
nervous about it. Like I remember coaching and just being like, oh,
Well, because our garage door went up over the pit, but it was far enough back into the pit where it was probably going to be okay. But if you're jumping, like if I like had a crazy good jump and blew through the pole, it was like it could get a little dicey, get a little pop in the back of the head.
Yeah, that was pretty wild.
If I'm not mistaken, you couldn't even run a full approach.
Nope, I ran 7 every single time I was in there. That's the furthest I could run.
Yeah.
The wall was 118 feet, and my 7 is like 106 or 107 feet. So
Yeah.
didn't even bump it back to 8 because I was probably pushing it too much. And yeah,
Yeah, so now you
7
actually get
laps
to
only.
practice.
Get to practice full approach, and we don't run it a whole lot still, but like I still get to I get to practice full approach, get to do pole runs, get up to top speed indoors. I never got to do that in 2022. I was like running accelerations, but right when I would hit top speed, I'd have to stop.
Yeah.
Now I can like hit top speed, hold it for a second, and be done, which is nice. That's the bare minimum, but also everything that I need in pole vault is to be able to hit top speed, hold it for a little bit, and be done in 40 to 60 meters, and I can do that in here. So got everything that I need in here.
Yeah,
So I
we
would
can
agree.
like actually host meets now too. Like
Like
legit,
big meets.
legit meets with like a good amount of people and
Yeah.
not feel like
So
somebody's
what
gonna
was
get
the
injured.
feeling like at the old meets?
It was, dude, the old meets were, I was telling Trevor, because for people who don't know, like, we all have real jobs at Rise. I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions at Rise is that we just show up and coach the pole vault. That is like, we do that for the shortest amount of time, like as far as our work goes. Like, so Luke is our general manager, so like manages everything, like memberships and payments and all the kind of just general manager stuff. And then Wood is our content director, so he does all of our content and does all of that stuff. And then Trevor is our events director. And I was talking with Trevor about like the old process, like how we would have to set up for meets at the old place. And we used to have to break down the entire facility. Like we would have to unbolt the squat racks.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I forgot that we did that every single time.
We'd have to unbolt the squat racks, move the squat racks into like some corner, and then like take all of our stuff and just jam it into this little corner. It looked terrible.
And then we'd rent like party chairs
Yeah,
from like a place in Shanahan and just set up 25 party chairs. Like it was 25 seats were available.
Yeah.
Because our max capacity at our old facility was 50 people, like capacity wise.
Like
just
that's
for
what the
building.
city gave us. Like
Yeah.
they were like, yeah, you can have 50 people in here. I'm like, 50 people?
And that was still kind of a lot. Like in that small facility, it was like if you had 25 people and then you had 15 people jumping and like some coaches and stuff like that, it was still like jam packed, but it wasn't in a good way. It was like, okay, now we can't use half of the facility because people are sitting there. The other half, there's a bunch of poles laying on the ground. So we've got the runway for kids to warm up on, and there's 15 kids.
Dude, like thinking about like
It's just stressful looking back. Like that does not
it's
sound
giving
like
me
a fun.
anxiety. Like
Yeah.
thinking about it, like how did they even warm up? You
Yeah.
know, like it was so crazy. So we used to have to do that, and so like we would break it all down. I was telling Trevor the other day, like I would show up at like 5 a.m. and I would just start just jamming everything into the corner and doing all the stuff. And then set up these flags to like section off different areas and stuff like that. Luke would come over, we'd set everything up. And then like we would get done with the meet and we'd be like, oh my gosh, we're done with the meet, just completely just wiped, exhausted. And then we'd be like, oh dude, we got to set this all back up to have classes.
And it was for like less than half of the amount of people attending the meet too.
Right.
That was the tough thing.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it was like twice or 3 times the amount of work, where now we come in and kind of like have it all, our situation's pretty good where it's all set up, spaced out well enough to where we don't have to set that much stuff up. And we have like 3 times more people attending, and they can still have more room to warm up, where before it was like not very many people even going to the meets, and not very many parents of the athletes would show up, but it wouldn't be a lot of them because it wasn't that many kids jumping. And we'd have to space that out it was like every hour and a half, like on the hour and a half, starting at 8, ending at 8, every single meet, you know?
And I would just be like walking through the facility, like not trying to not make eye contact with the parents, because I knew that like we were really pushing it,
Yeah.
like riding on the razor's edge of, is this acceptable or not? And I'd just be like walking with my head down, like, please don't talk to me. Because I knew somebody would be like coming up and just be like, dude, you got to switch this up, or you got to switch that up. And I'm like, oh man, we just had to hustle so hard at that old facility to be able to try to get things going. And now, like Luke said, we could literally, like, we could just be like, hey, everybody show up in an hour,
Mm-hmm.
and we could have everything set up for
Mhm.
the meet. It's really, really tight. So it's super, super clutch. And like
This
Luke
facility
said,
is definitely, I think that's where we started this facility is definitely the reason the reason for the growth of Rise too.
Yeah.
Like, and just not only just like the meets, but having more kids in here. I talk to kids sometimes too, like back at the old facility, we had 5 kids in each session for an hour. Now we have, each pit is an hour and a half long. Each pit has a coach on it, maximum of 10 people on each runway. The likelihood that all 10 kids show up to is pretty low, but like having the max of 20 people in here creates a way different vibe too. Like the kids are just partying every single day, and music's blasting, and like the kids are just, half the time the kid will get off the pit and be more excited to get back in line
to talk with her friends
than to hear what I have to tell them, which I'm okay with sometimes, So
Yeah. I remember the
pretty
first
cool.
week coaching here and seeing everyone like kind of be together and goofing around and joke around and warm up together.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just such a different feeling. I love to see that. And like at the old place, when you had people warming up, it's like they would be running across the runway, or like someone has their pull up and someone's running next to them, and they're like, oh shoot,
Yeah.
It was just so crowded. Now just to see everyone do that together,
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
And
Just
you're not going to
warming
get
up.
like speared with a pole, like just standing there, well, you still probably could, but it's really been amazing. But like getting to this point, like, was a complete, like, it broke me almost completely, like on a couple occasions. Like we were talking the other day about when I first found this place, and like we were like, all right, yeah, let's see if we can just push the limits. Like we didn't know if we had enough people to support this. We didn't know hardly anything. Had we hired you full time before that?
No.
It was
no.
right before Reno that he got hired.
Yeah.
Right before Reno.
yeah,
So
it
It
In
seems
January.
like he's been
into
hired. It
this
seems like
place.
he's
It's
been
been
here
less
for
than a
like
year.
6 years.
It's been less than a year.
It's been less than a year since Wood got was
Before I started doing the media stuff.
before
he
you
was
were
hired
hired
full-time.
like on a salary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't it seem like it's been like 3 years?
Wait, you've only been here
He's-
for less than a year?
Literally, it was literally right before Reno. It was right before Reno because we were
Wow.
talking about the Mondo video, the podcast clip of Mondo
Yeah.
and all that
Oh,
that
yeah.
got put together, and us kind of wanted to see what Wood had in store. And he had been coaching for longer than that, but we were in need of somebody else to be on the team and like kind of want to push this thing a little further, because it was just Jake and I. So, and at the time, I don't even know if Jake was full time. You like just were full time too, because like you were
I had
holding out
just-
because we wanted to make sure everything was working at the new facility.
Yeah, because you got hired first.
Yeah,
So Luke, like when I go and do payroll, Luke is the old, like
the
has
OG.
the seniority over everyone. So whenever I go to do payroll, it's so crazy. Yeah, so Luke got hired, and then I stopped.
I was hired over a year before you even. I was hired in May of 2021.
And then I was still teaching that whole next year, and then in 2022
2022, like
In
August though,
August.
or September, like right when we moved into here, you were like, okay, I'm not going back to teaching, so
Right.
got to do it.
And then we hired Wood like
Late December, I guess.
late December-ish. I think I probably told you like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, yeah. And it was official like January 1st.
January 1st, yeah. Yeah, but that was a wild time, man, because we had like a snowball of events that happened like so quickly. Like we found this place, and then I was trying to talk with Luke about like, all right, let's do it. Like we don't know if we have enough people to support it. We want to hire Wood and all of these things were starting to kind of happen. And then I talked with this guy. This place wasn't even on the market. Like, it wasn't even on the market. I kept calling this guy for probably 2 years. Like, and I was just like, hey, let me, like, what do you got? He's a real estate guy who owns a lot of real estate around here. And I was like, what do you got? Do you got something? He's like, what do you want it for? And I was like, I want to do a pole vaulting gym. And he was like, basically, click, like, nah, I'm good. And I was just like, and I just was persistent, man. I'd call him back like every couple months, be like, hey, got anything? You still doing it for the pole vault gym? Yeah. No, don't got anything. And then eventually, like, after 6 times calling him, he was like, all right, dude, I think I might have this place opening up, but I don't think it'll work for you. And I was like, what are the dimensions? He was like 200 feet by 75 feet. I was like, well, that's really good. I was like, what are the ceilings? He's like 35 feet. I was like, dude, that could work. I was like, come on, just give us a shot. Like, just give us a shot and let's do it. And he was like, well, you're going to have to sign a pretty good like a pretty long lease and all this stuff. And I was just like thinking in my head, like, I don't know. And I was just like, yeah, for sure. Yeah, we'll do it. No problem. And then I walk in here and I was like, this is going to take a lot of work getting this place together. And then we committed to it. And then as soon as we committed to it, Luke qualifies for the World Championships. And so, like, I was like working on the place and Luke was helping out working on the place. I was trying to keep him, safe and healthy. And then he qualifies for World Championships, and we were like, oh, man. So now we've got Luke going to the World Championships. We've got us trying to move this place, and it was the most difficult.
One of the craziest memories of that year was whenever my last workout at the old facility, there was like half of the stuff was taken out, and it was basically like a pole vault pit with a couple pieces of rubber on the sides of the runway.
Yeah.
And then like a bunch of the poles were off, a bunch of the weight racks were gone. And I remember being like, this is crazy. We're like literally halfway through the transition of moving from this facility to the other. But you don't get something for nothing, because the rent compared to the other place, this is a 5 times bigger place. So it's like we were also nervous about that at first, making sure like, okay, is this going to work literally just financially, that we're going to be able to maintain this and be able to know that I'm full-time and I want to have job security and you want to have job security. We knew that we were probably going to take wood on, and beyond wood, we knew we were going to probably have to have somebody else. So it was like, we need to, and at the time, Dad and Mike is coaching. So it was like, you got to pay them and make sure that everybody's getting compensated appropriately while you're footing the bill on a 5-time bigger facility.
Right.
And knowing you're probably going to get more people, having a second pit that you have to purchase. Like, there was a lot that went into it.
Right.
And we were doing a majority of it on our own, like laying down the turf and laying down like the rubber and all that, just you and I and like whoever we could find help with. And obviously the Salogas and they came in and Ryan Anderson's family and stuff, like
huge,
ridiculous.
They came through for us huge. But the hardest thing about doing this, and like for people out there that like maybe want to try to do this, there was never one day that I just like was like, yeah, this is a good idea, this will work. Never been that time. Never been that time. Like when I went to hire Luke, I was never like, oh yeah, for sure, this is a no-brainer. Like I was like, dude, you told Luke that you said you were gonna do this, and then you better do it. You better freaking do it. And I was just like, all right, hey, yeah, let's do it. And then you got to make it work. And then that worked. And then it wasn't, the hardest part is that we were guessing how much we would grow. It wasn't like, the hardest thing about doing something like this in the pole vault is because there's nothing you can compare it to. You can't compare it to like other sports gyms or things like that. Like, oh yeah, those, they have that many. Like, it's like you're creating like a new market in your area, and you never know like what's going to happen with that. So that was the hardest part and the most nerve-wracking part, is like, I think that we'll grow by this much. Currently we don't, like at that time it's like, well, maybe we barely have enough to make it happen, but I think we'll grow this much. And that's what's so nerve-wracking about it, man. And then you hire people on, and then I guess the more you do it, the better you get at it. But man, it's just is like every time we bite off a little bit more, it's just like, whoo, you lay awake at night just like, all right.
I think the decision to hire Trevor was one, though, that we were a little more like, we need it and it's going to work. And we also kind of need to make it work because we were like, okay, it was just becoming a lot to manage the facility and the coaching and stuff. Dad left, so that was some coaching hours. And you're always, I'm traveling, vaulting. Trevor travels with vaulting too. But like when we need fill-ins and just managing all of it with the amount of events that we wanted to start running and making sure that we're running more meets in a year to help with the kids and trying to get more people to go to Reno or trying to get more people to attend certain events that we have, the camp with Katerina. Like we wanted to have that stuff, and that was stuff that we had been requested to do more by the kids and by the kids' families, to run camps and to have more meets. But we knew with just us three, it wasn't going to happen. So I feel like that was a easy, like, we're hiring somebody, and there's an 18-9 pole vaulter who is willing to come to Chicago, and his girlfriend has a job in Chicago, and it just seems like everything's aligned.
Really
aligning.
Not too many of those people out there.
Yeah, I was like, there's literally nobody else out there. And I had met you before, so I was like, I know he's a good dude, and I know he's a good jumper too. So I was like, I don't see why, somebody who jumps 18-9 should know a little bit about pole vault, and he does. And, has molded himself into a Rise thing too, into the Rise thing, which is cool.
And he's fun to work with.
Oh, I appreciate it.
T-Bird.
I was a little nervous coming on to coach at first because I didn't have a ton of coaching experience. I'd just done like little camps and stuff here and there with like my high school or throughout college. And but I appreciate you guys taking the leap of faith with me with coaching, because the first couple of sessions I shadowed you, Jake, and you were just like quizzing me, like making sure that I knew how to keep the kids safe.
That's basically it, man. All the other stuff you can teach like pretty easily, but it's like you gotta have somebody who it's just like they need to know how to put somebody on the proper pole with the proper grip with the proper step. Like if you got those things, like they're gonna be safe. And then after that, like, you just it's not easy to learn, but that's
just takes reps after that. I feel like once, if you have it lined up where it's like, pole grip, like a lot of the time we talk about how a kid will come in here and sometimes their first day of improvement, it's not like we told them some like thing that we had an epiphany on, that they like fix their technique in this way. They're just likely gripping too high on too big of a pole,
or the opposite,
or gripping way too low on too small of a pole, and like have never been told, or they're running from the wrong spot, or all three of those things. And it's just like you fix two of those things and they jump a foot higher and they're like, holy cow. And then you add in after a month or two, like, hey, now we got everything right, and now you could focus on this, and then they jump even higher after that. But a lot of the time it's pretty cool to see that just a simple improvement of keeping them safe actually gets them to jump higher too.
Yeah.
And whenever you came in, I was like, okay, if he can get him in the pit, and I know that he like has that idea and that concept down of like proper pull, proper grip, proper step, I know he's going to get better because he's going to be coaching thousands of reps in a week, so it's just like, that's, you end up like coaching at a gym like this, you end up coaching so many reps. It's like you go through like 3 years of coaching inside of like 3 months here, because it's just like so many kids and so many different kids that like have different problems and things like that. And you end up just getting better just by doing it and figuring it out for yourself too, which is pretty awesome.
I feel like that's been fun, is having such a wide variety of jumpers and jumper like types of pole vaulters has been interesting to try to work with, because I feel like if you're just coaching at like a high school and you have like 10 vaulters or like 5 vaulters, it's pretty easy to mold them all into one like mold that you want them to vault like. But with the like, I don't know how many kids, like 80 kids that we see in a day,
right?
It's not really possible to do that.
Yeah.
And so being able to like adjust your coaching style for like the different kids is something that I'm still working on, but it's like, it seems like a pretty important part to get down.
Yeah. And you end up just like learning what, like this kid does this well, and he needs to work on this, or she needs to work on this. And then you end up just being able to diversify your coaching like so well. It's pretty awesome.
I got a question for Trevor. How do you think coaching has affected your own vaulting?
I don't know. Not a whole lot, I don't think. I think that when I say something to Jake after a vault, I feel like I sound like one of the kids that vaults here. That's
pretty accurate.
That's I think the biggest difference that I've like the thing that I've noticed the most is when I say something I'm like, man, I just sound like I'm just a member at Rise. That's is
basically are.
Dude,
honestly, Rise Elite.
That's what I think people have a misconception of like elite vaulters. Obviously there's differences, but it's like just doing the kind of the same things just on a much bigger level, like a much higher level. Like Luke's still using cues that he was using when he was in 7th grade.
No, that's a crazy thing.
You know, like
I'll say something sometime, and you and I'll both be like, "Man, Dad told us that back in 2006."
Right.
You know, and it's like
people overcomplicate this event, I think, a lot.
Energy in, energy out. Like there's just a lot of simple stuff to pole vault too. The one thing that you said the other day is you were like, what's weird about a pole vaulter's career is a lot of time they start off and it's like, man, I don't care about anything, and I'm just like here, the first year of their vaulting, they're like, I don't really care, like this is awesome, I'm just pole vaulting, this is really cool. And then they start to complicate things year 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, however many of those it goes. And then as they get older, they start to recognize that they just start going back to that 7th or 8th grade person who started mentality of, okay, I don't care about what anybody else is doing. I'm just going to like, not care as much and really try to just execute a couple simple cues. They end up jumping higher. And so you go through like a big process of like a decade of trying to learn and you do learn, but like find the like thing that's like the golden ticket. Yeah. And then you find out the golden ticket was just getting to the mentality that you were when you were a little kid.
Yeah. It's like you just do a big circle. Like you don't care. You're just having fun. And then you just go through this super tumultuous, God, I can't say it, time. You go all the way around and you're just trying to figure it out. Like, what's the silver bullet? Like, what can I do? Like, there's got to be one thing that's going to help me. And you just try so hard. And then you come all the way back around and you're so exhausted that you're just like, I just don't care.
And I think,
then you end up doing really well.
Yeah. What's cool too, though, is I feel that as a coach too, because like I remember Dad teaching me. We were talking about this in the same conversation where like our dad taught us how to coach as well. Like he was a teacher, our mom was a teacher, you were a teacher. I was the only one in my family that wasn't. But our dad like spent summers teaching us how to coach just as much as he taught us how to pole vault. So like at the pole vault camp, he would sit next to me and be like, you're going to coach this whole session, but I'm going to tell you how to go about doing it. And it was very simple stuff.
You guys keep talking. That's a pole order.
Oh, there we go. It was very simple stuff. And then you go through an entire, time of maybe overcomplicating things as a coach as you get more mature and feel like you have this sort of knowledge of like, okay, now I need to think of my own ways of doing things, which is important. But then you start recognizing that as you get better as a coach, I feel like it also does the exact same thing where you simplify it again and you go from like simple, like learning how to do it. It's like, hey, my dad's telling me, keep it simple, try to make sure you're focused on big things. And then you start focusing on intricacies and you start realizing that that's not working too well, and then you're like, you know what, you just need to kind of, you tell the athlete you need to focus on some bigger things, like some simple, energy in, energy out type situations, and then it, is the exact same cycle as the elite pole vaulter goes through, I think.
I completely feel that.
Yeah.
Like, especially coaching, it's like sometimes I like try, so like I'm trying to figure out a way to get someone to do something, and we just like go so in depth with it, and I'm like, oh, if you do this, or you move this, or you focus on this, and then I'm like, all right, you know what, we just need to come back and break it down, and sometimes it's as easy as on the foot, on the back, on the side.
Yeah,
and you
that's
realize how much those actually teach, and just getting into the right position there can
just
you
like,
talk through
hey,
that?
so how do I get on the side? Sometimes I'll be like, dude, just land on your side. Like, just simply just try
that's
to
the
land on
toughest
your
part.
side. Like, it's sometimes as simple as, okay, we were talking about a straight pole drill that we do. Well, I'll go back to the on the back. Like, some kids will be like, why can't I land on my back? And I'm like, you're just not committing to actually landing on your back.
Dude,
That's the
It's
funniest
that
thing.
simple.
There's sometimes kids get off the pit and ask me like how to like land on their back or land on their side, or just do some sort of cue or something, and they're like looking for like a specific magic way to say it.
Yeah.
And probably like 30% of the time, maybe 40% of the time, I'm just like, you kind of just got to do it, man.
Yeah, because like eventually if you learn that movement, it's like, okay, you learn the movement. Okay, now we can try to get a little more intricate with it, and that's okay. But until you've learned how to do that, if you're starting off with intricacies of a brand new beginner trying to land on their back, and you're telling them they got to move their arm and bend their, allow their left arm to relax and drop their head back and do it, like, you give them too much stuff and they're going to not land on their back probably.
Dude. I remember I used to teach martial arts, and I was trying to teach someone how to do a 540 kick. And I was like, you got to torque your hips like this, and we got to make sure you're turning your head, and you got to do this and do that. And he just couldn't do it. And then my dad comes over, and he's like, hey, your foot's here, and you just got to, when you land, put it here. And then the dude did it first try.
Yeah.
And it was just put your foot there.
And
That's because
a-
he's a sensei.
That's your dad. That's exactly like how it is with like pole vaulting though. I remember me, coaching like a beginner and being like, like whenever you're coming through takeoff, you're doing this and that and this and that. And my dad would be like, hey, stay tall. Like, he'd just say that and the kid would figure it out. And it'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, you're right. Probably just needed to chill on that. Just tell them something pretty simple that they can try to think about, Give them 20 things, they can't think about 20 things.
That's been my favorite motto here is simple but effective. Simple but effective, minimum effective dose. What are you doing if you're just wasting your breath if you're complicating it? Like,
So,
it's just a waste of time.
I was saying whenever you were gone, the cycle is almost the exact same as a coach, as an elite or a long career pole vaulter.
Oh, yeah.
You start off learning, like we started off learning from dad, hey, you got to coach, you got to keep it very simple, try to make sure that they understand the big points and the big movements, and leave it at that as best you can. Obviously, you have to get intricate sometimes. And then you go on in your career as a coach and you start, not that you get big-headed, but you start thinking that there's, other ways maybe, or you start thinking about smaller, intricate details, and it starts throwing the athlete off. And then you find yourself going back to, hey, you just need to, focus on this big movement.
Yeah. But
And-
a lot of times they don't want that though.
I know that's the thing that's hard.
They want the more complicated, like,
Plug it into the calculator.
yeah,
And
like they
press
want
enter.
like, well, it couldn't be that. It couldn't be that little tiny fix. Like, it's got to be something more complicated, right? And it's almost like you have to like put on a show, like, instead of, and that's what as I get older as a coach, I'm just like, man, I'm just tired of putting on the show, man. I'm tired of putting on the show, like, overcomplicating this. Like, this is who is at the door right now?
Like it's Jet.
Oh,
Big J.
yeah, Big Jet in the house.
How we doing over there, Wood?
Good. I just don't want to put on the show anymore. It's like, I know the most efficient way for you to get this done, and I'm just going to tell you the most efficient way. You don't need to know, like, why it works, like, all the time. So just do that.
Try to
and
do it.
And it'll be fine, But it's
And
like,
you don't have to know the reason. Like I understand some kids want to know the reason and stuff, but sometimes, like how you've told me, like, the less time you can spend thinking about your pole vaulting, the better it's going to be. Like, if you just get on the runway and you try to execute a cue, let's say, if you're constantly, coming off the pit and you're like, well, why though? Like, why? And you keep trying to get too much information. Well, then I'm forgetting what you even told me to do. And then I get on the runway and I'm like, wait, I know why he told me what I should do, but I don't know what he told me to do. And then you get off the pit and you start that cycle again. And it's like, if it's like, hey, you need to get your hips above your shoulders a little further, keep it as simple as that and not, understand why, but maybe save that for after the workout.
One thing I found to be important is to make sure they understand that you know why.
Yeah.
And you're not just saying something simple like, oh, well, let's move it in a foot. And they're like, well, no, that's not what I was doing. It felt really weird. My plant was weird and I fell off at the top. Well, it's like, no, it's because you were too far out and you were leaning forward and all that. And we have this in our head and how it affects the top. Mm-hmm. But if they know that you know that, then sometimes it can be easy for them to be like, oh, okay, just move it in a foot.
Oh, so yeah. So
it's not always explaining it, but if they know that you know why.
Right.
And then explaining it to them later. I think sometimes like letting them just, execute it for now, but then giving them details after maybe sometimes.
Yeah, 100%. So what is your dad a sensei? Like, what is a sensei?
So sensei is Japanese.
Okay.
So
I got Trevor knows
Trevor
Japanese.
knows Japanese. So he is in Taekwondo. He's a grandmaster.
I'm learning Japanese, just barely, just to be clear.
Right. Yeah.
Grandmaster?
You were getting around when
Grandmaster Wood?
Yep.
That's freaking sick, dude. That is a sick name. Imagine having that be your name on Instagram.
Yeah, right?
Are you?
I'm not.
What are you?
How could you be a grandmaster?
You got to be a 7th degree black belt.
How many do you got?
Are you a black belt?
That's
I am
gotta
a
be,
black
like,
belt.
How
years
many?
of training,
But
right?
I'm not. I'm a 5th.
2 more.
Yeah,
so
it takes a while.
What separates you from being a 5th and a 7th?
Pretty much just time.
Yeah,
time doing it, showing that, like, a lot of times then it becomes after, like, 4th is, like, you're considered master, and then, like, they want to see that you can teach it. And that becomes a big part of it. And like, to get to a certain level, like, you have to have your own school and your own students and be able to pass it on.
That's pretty cool.
Did you ever do American Ninja Warrior or try it?
I
feel like I
did
remember.
try it. Well, I submitted a tape for it. They actually got back to me and they said, hey, we like it, but we need you to change a couple things in it. But it was the same time that I was going off to do that Marvel tour, so I had to decline it.
Yeah, tell us about the Marvel
Tell
tour.
us about the Marvel
What's
tour.
the
Yeah,
Marvel
look at
tour?
Let's
this.
do this.
Everyone's learning everything about Grandmaster Wood over here.
Yeah. So I...
Hold on. Like, oh, well, you guys won't know. It's like Grandmaster Flash.
No.
Yeah, you guys don't know.
Sorry.
Okay, never
What
mind.
is that from?
He's a rapper or a DJ.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, producer.
No, don't know the DJs.
Grandmaster Flash.
Mm.
All right. Anyway.
Yeah, so I one day I woke up at like 3 a.m. and I was like, dude, I don't know what I'm doing right now.
With your life?
With my life.
Right.
I was teaching at the time and I just didn't really want to.
Teaching school?
Yeah, I was an elementary PE teacher.
Runs in the Rise
Jake
family.
knows. Yep. Yep. And like it was fine. Like I did have a
Props
good
to all
time
you
doing it,
teachers
but
out there.
I just knew I didn't want to do it long term. And I looked at myself in the mirror and I'm like, I am not going to leave this spot until I tell myself what I want to do. And it
In
was
the
like
mirror?
this in the mirror.
You have your shirt off? We just got to have a visual.
Really visualize
of
it.
this.
I can neither confirm nor deny that. But I was looking myself in the eye.
In the
And,
mirror?
in the mirror.
Just one of the eyes.
In the mirror.
In the mirror, you're.
Staring at myself in the mirror.
Have you ever tried to look at yourself in the mirror in the eyes?
Yeah.
It's interesting. All right, go ahead. Keep going.
It's a good time.
I've tried it a couple times. It's kind of, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. And I was like, dude, I want to be like in movies. And so I just like started looking up like how to get into like how to be an actor or stuff like that. And then I found like this casting site and I saw this audition that was in Chicago that weekend. So I drove to Chicago and it was for Marvel Universe Live. It was like this traveling tour where it's like Disney on Ice, but with Marvel characters, and you fight each other and like in stadiums and stuff. And I went out for it and I got it. And so I was Star-Lord from Guardians of the Galaxy.
wow.
I don't know what
I
that
don't know
is.
who that is. Like, Jake and I don't know anything about
Well,
that.
Trevor,
stuff.
you know what Star-Lord is?
He's
Star-Lord?
the Chris Pratt plays
Yeah.
in the movies.
So he's not the
So
little
what
raccoon.
what movie?
No.
What
He's like the
Guardians
main
of the
character.
Galaxy?
So Guardians of the Galaxy was like
You were
the movie
Chris
that
Pratt's?
I was Chris Pratt's character. Yeah.
That's what's up.
That's what's
So,
up. Good
but
for
like
you.
we did these, so it'd be like performing, right? But I wasn't like mic'd up because there were like 50 different people. It was like all Marvel characters. So we had to use like voiceovers and stuff. So my voiceover was like the older brother on like Saved by the Bell. Or no, on Boy Meets World. On Boy Meets World, the older brother.
Wait.
Was-
So you guys were doing.
I was
your
like
acting,
performing and
then
fighting,
you were
and
like,
I would like it was lip syncing. Yeah.
And there's another person doing the.
But no, it was pre-recorded.
Oh, okay.
So I just had to memorize the
got you.
lines and then like do this. But
Were you
he
ever
played
off?
it like super high pitch. So it was like, "Hey guys, look who's here! Star-Lord in the house."
Oh man.
It's like so embarrassing.
Is that what
How
they
many
actually
people?
said?
How many people are at these things?
Dude,
12?
No, it would like fill up stadiums. Like it would be like
Hold on.
So like if you
so
went to
like
like
indoor
in a,
arena.
like
So like
a-
if you went to like
Allstate
the
Arena
Chicago,
or
like
something?
Allstate Arena, it would fill that up.
Oh wow.
So it's like legit.
Like or like
Disney.
Yeah.
theaters, like you'd be on like theaters and stuff. I assume.
It'd be like it'd be like
No.
hockey arenas and like.
Oh yeah, so like all state.
Have you ever been to Disney on Ice or seen it?
No, but I've been to Allstate Arena.
Yeah, that's legit. Dude.
That's a lot of people. That's like
I didn't
10,000 people
realize that.
or more.
Is that over 10,000?
That's got to be over
Yeah.
9,000.
It's got to be over 9,000 at least.
That's crazy. So it's not like medieval times.
No, it was a lot bigger.
Okay,
Medieval times is pretty big, right?
I love medieval times.
dude,
Yeah,
medieval
medieval times
times
is cool.
is legit.
Yeah.
We were at
So that
really
was
quick because I
like-
want to get
yeah.
back to this, but we were at medieval times and my daughter, my oldest daughter, we were sitting there eating the thing, and everyone's quiet around, just watching the show, and then like the dude would they would be fighting, and the dude would like go down, and Lacey would stand up and just go off with his head.
That's hilarious.
She just kept screaming it like multiple times. I was like, Lacey, stop. Off with his head. It was so funny, dude.
That's hilarious.
Okay, so back in this. So you start traveling around with this Marvel
Marvel
thing.
Universe Live.
Is this like a nationwide thing? or-
Yeah. So it was a nationwide thing. When I started on with it, they did like some international tours as well, but this was going to be like the U.S. tour. Yeah, so I started with that. I was only with them for a few months because my knee was pretty
Messed
bad.
your knee up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was a really cool experience. I mean,
So your
loved
knee
doing
was
that.
so bad that you couldn't, like, because you had
Yeah,
acted,
I
or you
remember
had to,
one
like,
day,
fall,
like we
fake fall
finished,
and stuff.
we finished doing it, and I was like walking off to like go and get changed and stuff, and dude, I was like dragging my leg, like limping, and one of the producers saw me, and they're like, "What are you doing right now?"
Do
like,
they
why
ever
are you-
put those guys on like juice or anything? Like stem cells or like
No,
do they get juiced up or anything?
probably should have though. That'd have been good,
I mean, it's like professional wrestling. You got to get in the ring.
right?
You got to figure it out. Right?
Quickly, can you explain your Shameless thing? Like the show Shameless?
Yeah. So
Were
I
you-
mean, I
I don't know what it- I
didn't
don't know
do
what it
much- I
was,
didn't do
but-
much on there.
All right.
You were
Um,
in Shameless?
No.
Dude, this guy is
This is lit.
famous
All right.
actor.
so
Something to do with
after
lip, though,
after
right?
that happened, I came back, and I started getting into like stunts. So on Shameless, I wasn't actually doing stunts at the time, but I did meet the Chicago PD stunt director on there, and that was like a good connection for that. So I was just doing stand-in for Lip.
Okay.
So Jeremy Allen White on there, and I was just like, I would go in and, you know, they would set up the cameras and stuff, and like I'd go through it and walk the direction and things like that. But then eventually started getting into the stunts and things like that. So I did do a fight scene with him though once in
Oh,
the Bear
nice.
with Jeremy Allen White.
Oh, really?
Really?
Yeah, last
pretty
episode
cool.
of The Bear. So
Wait, you're
it
in
was
it?
like this. Yeah. So
Wait, actually?
Yeah. But this it's like, dude,
Amber
it's,
like loves that show.
Really?
Yeah, I gotta tell her. We gotta look for you now.
last episode of season 1.
That's actually hilarious. Amber's gonna love it
really
even
cool.
more now. I gotta remember to tell her about that.
What did you do like in the
It's
fight?
just this like, dude, the things that's crazy is we rehearse this whole fight scene, and then you get to it on the day, and they end up scrapping it, and they're just like, all right, just
you
kind of,
serious?
yeah. So then they're like, all right, just tussle here and go over here and do this, and we're like, okay, and that's just kind of how it happens. But yeah, we do this little fight, and then like he comes in and we're like breaking it up, and then someone gets punched, and it's like, oh shoot, like this got serious, like this person just got knocked out.
Hold on,
and that
for
was the
real?
scene.
They got knocked?
No,
Oh,
No, that
okay.
was
No,
the-
that was the
All right,
scene.
all right,
And
I got you.
then scene.
And scene.
That's wild, man.
That's super cool. So they have you like wear the wig, like to make your hair look like his?
No, not when I was on that. Yeah.
It was
and
just
then
because
in-
you're like the same like size and like
Kinda
skin
look like Lip a
complexion
little
and stuff
bit.
like that.
Yeah,
I
it was
assume?
just like, yeah.
so that
I
they
think
get
like
the camera set so he doesn't have to
face
waste
and
too
skin
much
color
time.
and stuff was similar.
Biceps
little bit-
weren't the same though.
Biceps were not the
Biceps
same.
were not the same. I was
Biceps
a little
were
bit
not.
taller than him.
Yeah. Right. Is he really short? Pretty.
He's pretty short.
Yeah. Over 5 feet.
He's over 5 feet tall.
Oh my gosh, man. Yeah, that's crazy. I've always thought, like, whenever we were talking about, I actually on my phone last night, I was searching through pictures for some sort of thing, and there was a screenshot of the first text I sent to you in 21 that was like, hey, are you still interested in coaching at Rise? Because I had asked you like a couple times before that, and you were like, no, I'm doing the acting. And then I reached out again, and on that one it was, yeah, I'm interested. When do you want to talk? And it's just pretty wild. And whenever I started reaching out to you, I had that in my back, like in the back of my head, because I was like, okay, he's doing like all of these acting and things like that. And then you used to make those videos with your dad's, mom and dad's, do you call it a dojo?
Oh, yeah. That's a dojang. I swear.
No, it's not.
Now we're just making up stuff.
Is that Japanese?
I don't know.
Bojangles?
Dojang.
So what's the difference between a dojo and a dojang?
Dojo is Japanese.
And a
Dojang is Korean.
Oh,
And taekwondo
okay.
is
Korean.
really? I didn't know that. Huh.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think I knew that.
So anyway, yeah. So you started making this.
His family used to go to Korea, South Korea.
Dude.
To be clear, yeah.
To be clear.
Yeah. I'm the only one who hasn't, actually.
Yeah.
It's very
Oh, wow.
disappointing. Yeah, my dad took all my
Casey
brothers.
used to like every year, or at least he did one time, like in college. He went. Casey's his brother. I vaulted in college with, but I remember him being like, "Yeah, we're going to Korea."
Why didn't you get to go?
I don't know. That was the disappointment, apparently.
That's
Dude had to
crazy.
run the Bojangle or whatever it's called.
Bojang. Yeah, that's wild. I didn't know that. But you used to make these videos, and I used to they used to be really funny, and like I was just like, you know what? They started progressively like just getting better, and you started like using more like special effects and stuff like that. And I was like, I always wanted like a media component to Rise, and I was like, you might look at that and think like, oh, that's just silly or whatever. Those same skills, they transfer directly over
Oh, yeah.
to any sort of editing and filming and things like that. And then couple that up with all of the stuff that you learned like doing with acting and stuff like that. I was like, man, he would be probably really, really good at wanting to do that. And I was like, if he knows how to coach, then that's a really good option. And then I remember sitting you down and just being like, all right, because we were like, all right, well, how could you get a salary? Like, how could we justify it or whatever? And in my head, I was like, well, we gotta bring in, this much money to be able to cover Wood's salary. and it should probably be more money than would cover his salary, and all of these different things kept going through my head. And we were like, well, you could sell poles, you could do this, you could do that, you can do that. And then eventually, like, I just got tired of it, and I was like, why am I doing this? And like, why are we doing this? And I was like, I want the people who come here and work here to like find it fulfilling. And so I just sat down and I was like, if you could do one thing, what would it be? And you were like, I want to like produce content. And I was like, all right. And I was like, I don't know how we're going to make any money doing that. But I was like, if it's something that you want to do, you're going to do a good job at it. Where if you're doing something that you don't like doing, then it's just like, it's just going to be garbage, and you're just going to show up and be like, oh, I got to do this again. So that was really, really cool whenever you took that on. And I think that added like a whole new dimension to what we do here, man.
Here's a quick fact. We had less than 2,000 followers on Instagram a year ago today.
Yeah.
And we have like right at 9,000 now.
We got
over 9,000.
Or over 9,000, folks.
Yep. And honestly, it's all because of Wood, man. Like, you literally just took it and just made it into something really cool. And I always tell you this all the time, whether it becomes something that is like, helps us out financially or not, it's just cool. And like, whenever I see it, I'm like, that made my day better.
Well, and there's no doubt that,
and that's worth a lot.
That many more eyes on Rise is a reason why more people come here and more people go to our meets. More people want to represent us with merch. More people want to buy poles from us. Like, there's countless ways where that content, even if like directly posting the video doesn't make money, that it benefits us both as financially, but also as just like a brand of wanting to grow our name more too.
Right.
It's just like marketing at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And then there just wasn't any, I mean, after Sean did his, Sean Francis did a great job and still does a great job with like his content and stuff, but there's more space for more people to do it. And like,
we talked a lot
there
about,
just wasn't anything there like that you could just be like, all right, I'm going to log on to Instagram and I'm going to find high quality content about the thing that I like to do, which is pole vaulting. And you had really one option, and it was Sean, and he's awesome. But I was just like, man, if you play football, you got a million options of things that you can go and look and watch, and you have like hardly any options in the pole vault. It's just like, so I mean, my thing is like, and the cool thing about with your stuff is I've seen a direct correlation with when you started producing high quality content, pole vault content for Rise. Other gyms and clubs are like, you know what?
100%.
That's awesome. Let's do that too. And that's what we want. We want more people to be like, all right, let's produce really good content that people like to consume. And like I said, just makes their day better and has something for a pole vaulter to be a fan of,
Yeah. And short form too. Like, we had talked about that a lot, where we produce long form stuff every once in a while, but if you want a high school kid to digest it, it has to be short form in 2023, 2024. Like, that's just the nature of like where TikTok, Instagram, all YouTube, even like YouTube shorts, all of it is very short form. And so we wanted something that kids can also go on. And like you said, like a football player can quickly go on and see a quick tip about how to get better at a certain thing on route running. But there isn't that for pole vault. And we wanted people to be able to scroll through and not just see, it's cool to see Mondo jump a world record or somebody do a cool slow-mo vault, but also be able to have some content that's educational in that way, that's like quick to the point. Obviously some other stuff that we need to go into detail for, we put into a long form, but quick tips and stuff like that is something that's never been in the pole vault world. And now I think, John's the one kind of running that show.
And that's been a really hard thing to figure out is at the beginning we were like, yeah, let's do a lot of long form, stuff like in depth. Let's let the people know like what it is that like exactly they need to do. And we started to do that, and then it was just like, dude, and you can see all the analytics, like, dude, people are swiping out of this like crazy.
Yeah.
Like they don't want
No.
it. They don't want it. And so then we would come to John, and because we all come to him with like ideas. We're like, hey, we should do a video on this, or we should do a video on this. And then usually you're like, yeah, man, let's do it. And then you pitch him the idea, and then it's like, okay, yeah. And John will be like, yeah, that's a great idea. How can we get that down to 6 seconds?
Yeah.
And it's like
Minimum effective dose. It's like we always say.
I remember when you said that, you were like, yeah, you got like 6 to 8 seconds max. And I'm like,
Well,
how am I
'cause
going to get
that's
all
the
this
funny
into
thing.
6 to 8 seconds?
Because
And
you're,
you would always make me retake stuff too.
Dude.
Because I talk so much, you would just be like, all right, dude, yeah, that was great. Great take. You got to cut out 90% of
well,
what you
because you got
said.
you got the PE teacher in you, so like there was times where I would be behind John, like watching you do it, and it'd be one where you're walking down the runway saying like, "Hey guys, it's Jake here at Rise Pole Vault, blah blah," and John would be like, "Dude, you already have to have the video done by the time you just finished your name,"
It's so hard.
It's gotten a lot better though. I remember the amount of takes we had to do was insane at the beginning.
Yeah.
Now we really all try to do it in one take.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get the giggles though.
Dude, that's what's
You
funny.
get the giggles.
John and I the
It's
other
bad.
day, we were trying to film something, and he stumbled on the word visual. There we go. On the word visualization.
Right.
And it was like, I felt like Will Ferrell and like whoever just like could not stop laughing. And we just, every time we got to a point, I was like smirking behind the camera, and he would just be like, dude, put it together, like hold it together.
Right.
And
I
we
know.
just like couldn't do it. So we had to put it on the back burner. And then we showed up the next day, and it still, like, he said it correctly, and we still were just like,
Hey, you're
So
so
funny.
patient too. You're so patient with us too. Like
that is, yeah.
that
appreciate
was one thing was hard for me, is I felt like I was letting you down every time I would mess up a take.
No.
And you just were like, hey, it's all right, man. Just let's do it again. And then, you just, if I say something and you're like, hey, man, that was good, but we just got to run it back one more time. And it's crazy. Like I don't think people realize how much goes into it. Like for that little bit of, of content, like there's a lot that goes into it, man. And like there's a lot that like to be consistent with something, it's really tough. It's just like the podcast is so hard to be consistent with, man. It's so difficult because you got to find people, and you got to schedule them, and you got to do all this stuff, and it's really crazy. It looks on the outside like filming social media stuff, like I'm gonna do that, yeah, I'm gonna do that. But then once you start, it's like, holy cow, man, this is a full-time job. Like literally, like that's like what Wood does, like you coach too, obviously, but it's crazy how much time it takes to be able to do it. And sometimes like we come in and we're like, oh man, I don't know if I really want to film anything. Like, could you just get the camera out of my face right now? But it's just like, no, can't get the camera out of my face. Like,
Yeah.
you got to just keep
we're out of
rolling.
content. Like if it's like, hey, no, we're coming up on like the last couple of videos of content, and John's like, dude, we got to film like 3 or 4 things today.
Something.
And that's just kind of how it is. It's like, all right, well, one take it, try to, and if you can one take it, you cut off half the time.
Yeah, we have gotten a lot more efficient with it though.
Yeah. I think another thing too is just being comfortable behind the camera, and your own ability to come out and express and act is something that people don't understand is pretty hard.
Yeah.
Like,
You got so many good ideas, and then once that camera turns on,
it's just, I
just-
don't know why.
I don't know why either. It's like I'm looking at the camera right now, and it's just like intimidating.
Just looking right back at you.
Yeah, like Wood looking at himself in the eyes in the mirror.
I ain't moving.
John,
Yeah. So how long did you stay there?
Not that long actually. Probably like
In the
45
mirror?
minutes.
Wait, the mirror?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I thought you meant the whole Marvel thing.
No.
looked at himself in the mirror for 45 minutes.
He's pretty hard. You're pretty hardcore, dude. Like,
Yeah.
like he's very like,
Push it to the next level.
yeah, yeah,
I just failed a bench, put 5 pounds on.
yeah.
He's that kind of
Yeah.
guy.
That's been like that for a long time, man.
Yeah.
But
One of these days we got to get a video on Instagram of John doing his nunchuck routine.
I know. I've been saying that for a long time.
If
Have
these
you ever
ceilings
seen
are
him do
tall
nunchucks?
enough.
No, I
Are
haven't.
they tall
Dude,
enough?
like this guy
Yeah, they are.
is
It's
he will
insane.
mess you up with nunchucks.
I bet.
100%.
Like those
Yeah.
people that you
Guys are
see
hyping
if you've
me
ever
up right
seen
now,
somebody
man.
be like throw it up in the air, do like a backflip, catch it, and
You ever seen Bruce Lee?
he does all that.
Basically the same thing.
Yeah,
You're gonna have somebody listening, like come and challenge you someday.
basically the same dude.
I'll
At
be ready.
Reno.
Do you still
gotta
got
be
it?
ready.
I'll be waiting.
At Reno 2024. Catch me outside. How about that?
bring your nunchucks. Actually, don't.
Please don't.
Not
Hey,
be
we
allowed
got-
on the flight.
You remember? You and I and Josh, for some reason, all came home from a trip to Tennessee with nunchucks.
Yeah, we got.
And you got
nunchucks
like
and,
crystal ones.
crystal
Mm.
nunchucks. And
They were like
A switchblade.
and a switchblade, like an illegal switchblade.
Wait, inside the nunchucks?
No.
There was
We all got
dude,
like
Tennessee's.
I got a pair
like
of
the Wild
nunchucks.
West,
Josh
man.
got a pair of nunchucks. Jake got a pair of nunchucks that were like crystal and glass.
It was in Pigeon Forge. We were coming back from the Smoky Mountains, and like we stopped in Pigeon Forge, and there was, I think it was Pigeon Forge. It was either that or Gatlinburg, and
The big warehouse.
they got. I mean,
It said
it's
It
Tennessee,
literally said
man.
like knives, nunchucks,
Yeah.
guns,
throwing stars.
throwing stars.
Stun
that was,
guns.
and it didn't even have a name of the store. It just was called like stun guns, throwing stars and knives and more.
And you just walk in. It's like a jewelry shop. You know, it's like glass cases, and you're just like, "Hey, can I look at
nunchucks.
the? Let me see those crystal ones over there."
Let me see the
Crystal
crystal
nunchucks. That's
crystal
gotta
glass
hurt
nunchucks.
Bad. If you get
Well,
hit by those.
Could you do like? Do you
that
just
would
use the?
hurt.
You use the foam ones, don't you?
No, he uses the
no,
wood
I
ones.
have the wooden ones.
Yeah,
The wooden ones.
it makes sense. That's his last name.
Ooh.
The thing is like those crystal ones though, or like really you get like if you want to make them look good, you get like the plastic ones that are like that have some sort of flashy or like reflective surface on them or like holographic surface,
it
and then
shines,
it's like
kinda?
yeah, it shines, and every time it like passes through the light, it just looks like it goes way faster.
I mean, these I might still have them. They
Yeah,
are,
they're
they-
at mom and dad's. I'm pretty sure.
They are legit. Yeah. And then, yeah, so I came back with the crystal nunchucks, throwing stars.
I straight up have the throwing stars at my house.
Yeah.
I have the
And
throwing stars at my
dude,
house and throwing
And then
knives.
I asked
have
if I
throwing
could get a
knives
stun
too.
gun, but mom and dad wouldn't let me.
Well,
get
that's
a
what's
stun
funny is like I was probably 7 or 8, but I got throwing knives for some reason, and
I do like throwing.
I have a set of 3 throwing knives, and I will post them on my story if I find them. But they're at my house right now.
Don't post them on your story. That would look really just like, hey, here's my throwing knife.
Look at myself in the mirror. Look at myself in the eyes in the mirror with a couple throwing knives.
Dude.
That would be a little off brand.
Yeah, I would.
It would be like all pole vaulting content,
Throwing knives.
throwing knives.
And then here's another jump from today.
So my parents do a tournament every year,
Mm-hmm.
and you know what they give as prizes
Crystal
to
nunchucks.
little kids? They give live swords, like sharp
Whoa.
swords,
Like real swords.
like real swords.
Yeah, they had swords at this place too. They had swords. They had the ball and chain, like the,
Oh, yeah,
the
yeah.
stick,
Little flail.
the stick with the chain, but
it
it had
mace?
spikes on the ball.
Yeah.
What is it?
Is it a mace?
Mace. They had.
Is that what it is?
I think no,
Battle
it should be a
axes.
flail. I think
Oh.
because the mace is without the chain.
Yeah, they had like the
Oh.
battle axes.
battle axes for
Yeah,
sure.
Good
Jeez.
stuff.
Well, because you're good at what's it called, gumdo?
Gumdo is the swords. Yeah.
Yeah, because remember
I
in
remember.
college, I was like, just bring the swords over, and we'll fight with.
I
the
was like,
swords.
try to hit me.
and yeah, you were like, yeah, try. It was in my dorm room. Yeah, here's your sword. Here's my sword.
In the dorm room
Try
at
to-
North Central.
Try to hit him. And I was like, are you sure? And I tried to hit him.
Did you?
really tried to take his head off.
No. Wow.
And this dude had me. I mean, he would have sliced me up. I would have been
Sliced
done.
and diced.
I would have been done. Yeah, that is cool. See, yeah, you probably didn't know about his like whole background in
No, not at
martial
all.
arts and stuff. He's
Well,
a
yeah, I knew
real
that, yeah.
martial artist.
That's either all true or he's doing a Theo Von bit.
Yeah, that Pigeon Forge. Yeah, if you ever Tennessee,
That's
they
a
can
good
kind of
spot.
just do kind of whatever they want.
Yeah.
You don't find those in Chicagoland.
No, I don't think they have like taxes down there or something.
It's
Property
just a
tax
different,
or something.
different place, that's for sure. Beautiful country though.
Hey, 2 best jumpers in the nation right now are going to Tennessee.
Yeah, Paul,
Ooh.
big
Paul and Maya.
Yeah, Paul will be able to get as many nunchucks as he wants.
As many nunchucks as he wants.
Get his whole dorm full. I wonder what would happen if you did. Would TSA allow? I don't think they would allow nunchucks. Have you ever flown with your nunchucks?
I think I have. I feel like I have.
Not in your carry-on.
No, not in the carry-on.
No.
I don't think.
Yeah.
I
That'd be a
doubt-
pretty
that
dumb
would
thing
be-
to try to take
yeah.
a plane over with. Is
Yeah, no.
nunchucks.
I've put them in my like just suitcase.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what's up. Yeah, because you can fly with just about anything. So, Trevor, you got any? got any
Yeah,
good-
what any nunchuck stories? Any
What's something?
what's it like in Michigan, Grand Rapids, Michigan? Big Trev the plug running the mean streets of Grand Rapids, baby.
I don't know, man. It's
You-
nice. It's nice there.
You got?
I like
anything
Grand
going on
Rapids.
over
It's a
there?
pretty good spot.
Yeah, it's a little snowy with the lake effect snow.
Yeah.
Right now?
We got.
I don't know.
Oh.
I haven't
I-
been there in a while.
We used to go up to Grand Valley, and every time we would go to Grand Valley, it would just be like 3 feet of snow
Oh, yeah.
everywhere.
Yep.
Dude, I got a good Michigan story. I tried to backpack in the middle of the winter in January in northern Michigan. 3 feet of snow, -10 real temperature
Is that with Crow?
with my old high school coach. Yeah, we just started backpacking out there, and I was like, it's going to be fine. He was freaked out, like really scared. He was like, Jake, I just am telling you right now, we were like pretty far out there into the trip and in the woods, sun's starting to go down, and he was like, dude, I don't want to admit this, but I'm just letting you know, like, I'm legitimately scared right now. Is this going to be okay? And I was like, yeah, it'll be fine. It's, we got sleeping bags and all that stuff. And I remember laying in my tent that night, and the whole entire inside of the tent is covered in ice. Like, it's all ice. So it's like you're sleeping in like a little ice hut. And I gave him my 0-degree sleeping bag. So, I wanted to make sure he was good, and I did not have my sleeping bag was not able to handle it, and I just started jackhammering in the middle of the night, and I woke up and couldn't control my shivering. Get out a thermometer, put it under my armpit, and I brought a thermometer with just because I wanted to know like if my body temperature was going to be getting too low, and it was below 97, and I was like, we need to get out of here, man. And so I woke him up, and I was like, we need to hike out. Woke up at 2 a.m, packed up all of our stuff, and hiked out of there. Yeah, Michigan gets cold. Michigan's beautiful, though, man. I love Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't have the same sorts of stores like that in Michigan. Like,
No.
Yeah, I've noticed that since coming to Illinois that it's a lot sunnier. Like, I don't know if
Really?
it's the lake or something, but it's just like the last couple of years in Michigan, it's been cloudy like probably
time.
maybe like 6 months out of the year.
Really?
It's cloudy. And
Interesting.
like if there's a rainy day here, it's rainy for like a couple hours and
Yeah.
then it clears up and then it's sunny by the end of the day.
Yeah.
And in Michigan, if it's rainy. It's like cloudy and gray for like 3 days, and it's like rain on and off.
That's
I feel like
wild.
I kind of feel that too, because like whenever we go on like our salmon trip, I just feel like it was always gloomy. Like it was never
Yeah.
really sunny.
No,
Mhm.
no, never.
But that's kind of the fun in it.
It's like
Yeah.
from
You know.
it's like July and August are sunny, and then those are the months that you can like count on sun, and then the rest of the year is like hit or miss if it's going to be like sunny and warm.
Right. How have you been liking living in Chicago?
It's nice. I like it.
Yeah.
I like the city's nice too. We're in the Gold Coast. We're just north of like downtown,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a good spot where we're like just close enough where we can like go and do stuff in the city, but it's not like we're in the city and there's like cars everywhere and people everywhere and stuff like that.
There's always something to do, man.
Oh yeah.
Always something to do there.
Yeah.
There's
That-
a lot of fun winter, like Christmas things that are going on right now too.
Yeah.
There's like
Christina Mart.
Yep. Yeah,
That's a
me
big
and Liv
one.
went there a couple weeks ago. It was pretty sweet.
Yeah.
We were gonna buy an ornament for our tree.
It was like $50. Yeah.
It was like a little. It was nice. I liked it. But it was like a clay stocking, and it was like hand painted. And so I was like, oh, it's pretty nice. I'd pay probably like $5 or $6 for it, but it's gonna be expensive, so it'd be like $15. That's fine.
Yeah.
And we get to the counter, and the guy's like, that'll be $27. I'm like,
Holy
this
Yeah.
thing's like 4 inches big, dude.
Yeah,
Come
there
on, man.
it's hefty pricing
joke.
over there. The hot chocolate there is like $150. No, it's like the hot chocolate there is like $10 or something
Yeah, I
like
think
that.
I
It's
paid $9 for mine.
It was
Yeah, it's
$4 to get a marshmallow in the hot chocolate.
like, actually,
Yeah.
did you go recently?
Yeah, I didn't get the marshmallow.
$4 for a marshmallow in the hot chocolate. Man, I'd pay it though.
That's crazy.
You can get a bag of marshmallows for $4.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you got like a really cool setup. Like you got like the rooftop
Oh yeah.
on your apartment and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
it's
Yeah,
sweet.
my girlfriend Liv did a really good job of like searching for a place for us, and this one that we got is like just a like regular apartment building, but just have a rooftop, and it's like right in between North Ave Beach and Oak Street Beach, and so we just have like a great view of the water and the city, and we can see the Hancock Tower and stuff, and go up there in the summer. Super nice, just to like lay it in the sun for a few hours.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of people who would pay like a very high price to have that. So I don't know how much you're paying, but it's probably
it's not
decent.
ridiculous.
It's
but
not ridiculous, but like
it's more
that's
than I
pretty
wanna
good.
pay.
Yeah, pretty good to have like a rooftop, especially in like Chicago. Like you're
Yeah.
in the city where you could see all that stuff. That's pretty sweet.
It's also nice being right on the water too, because I can walk across Lakeshore and just hop in the lake.
That's
And
really
I've been-
sick.
Get that little ice bath going.
Oh,
Have
yeah.
you been keeping up with that?
No,
I was about to say.
I've
it's
been
getting
taking
a little
cold showers.
Gotcha.
Taking cold showers in the morning, but yeah, the lake's a little bit harder to get into than a cold
Yeah, there was
dangerous, too,
there was
man.
like
I've
a
been
stint.
doing it like once a week.
Yeah.
I remember there was a stint where you were like doing it like pretty regularly, like a couple times a week maybe. And then
Mhm.
there was like the week where it was like 20 for some reason. And I came in and I was like, hey, Trev, you hit the lake today? And he was like, no, not
No.
today.
Yeah.
It's just that if I could walk like out my apartment and be on the beach, I'd do that every morning.
Yeah.
But the fact that I have to walk, it's like a 5-minute walk, and it's probably like a 10-minute total like travel time to get to just because like getting out of my apartment building and stuff. And so it's just enough time where I can really think about how cold it's going to be when I get in the water.
Yeah.
And it just sucks the
And
whole time.
the
getting
10-minute
over
travel
there.
back up
Oh,
too.
yeah.
Like back up to the
And so
apartment with the
cut
wind
it-
blowing.
Yeah, I wanted to do it like before it got really cold. I was like, I'm doing this every morning.
Yeah.
And then it got really cold, and I was like, I'm doing this once a week.
Yeah. It's tough, man. It's keeping up with the cold water immersion is
Yeah, 'cause
is
you have
difficult. I just
ice
got
jet.
a trough, like a horse trough in my backyard that I go in, and the problem is like you got to pay like 7 Gs to get like a real nice ice bath that like
Mhm.
actually cools it down. And with what I have, it's just cooled naturally. So like I just put water in it and then the air, cools it.
Have you
But-
been doing it again?
Yeah, but the
This year?
yeah, I do it pretty regularly, probably like 3-4 times a week, I would say. But the problem is that once it starts to get too cold, then the ice on top, like you can't crack through it.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like you can crack through like a couple inches of ice, no problem, and just break it all up, and then jump in. But once it starts to get like 4 inches of ice on top of it, like you're not gonna be able to do it. So what I've heard is you could put a bunch of salt in it, like
Oh, yeah.
Epsom salt or something like that, and then it will lower the temperature that it would freeze at.
Yeah, wouldn't that make the water like really like dangerously cold though?
Right, and that's what I'm nervous about.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like the ocean though, probably, right? Or is that why it gets colder? Like if you add salt to it, or I don't know.
No, it just lowers. I'm not a chemist, but like it lowers the temperature that the water would freeze at.
So instead of like 32, it'd be like 28 degrees.
Mm.
And so the water can sit liquid at 30 degrees instead of 32 or 33.
Mm.
And supposedly there's not a lot of evidence saying that anything below 50 degrees does anything more for you. Like that's what I've read is that.
Yeah, I don't know what the lifetime one is that I use, but it's probably 45 or
Yeah,
something like
I think
that.
like 45
I don't know what it is.
probably really good. You just want to shock yourself. You just want to shock yourself, and your body releases those hormones and does all of the processes that process of hormesis, and then after that's done, if that happens at 50 degrees or if that happens at 36 degrees, it doesn't, like, it already happened, you know?
Yeah. Like it's cold. It's like really cold. But I've had ice baths where I like filled it up with way too much ice.
Yeah.
And then I'm sitting in there and like your toes start like actually like tingling and you're like wondering what's going on with it.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't get that cold.
The other thing,
I don't really like that feeling either. That's kind of freaky.
the thing with the ice too that I run into is like my life, you guys know, like it's just high stress, man. Like what I do and like the things that I'm involved with, and then I have a family as well, like it's just super high stress. So my body is just under stress majority of every day. Actually, Aura started tracking daytime stress, which is really funny to look at when you look at mine, because it has this metric engaged. So it's like engaged or relaxed,
Activated.
engaged and stressed, and you shouldn't peak out over that stress one like too often. And dude, I'm hovering like right over that stress like a lot of the day. And so the reason I'm saying that is because if you're already stressed in your normal life, and then you're going to go and intentionally stress your body more by getting in the ice, and then you're going to stress your body more by working out, and then all of a sudden your body is just like stressed the whole day, you know, like, and so your level of stress just gets so crazy. And so what I've always wondered is like, what's the balance with that? Because if you intentionally stress that body, you're not only stressing your immune system too whenever you get into that cold. And so I always wonder if like maybe I'm on the borderline of getting sick or something, and then I go in the cold, if that was the thing that pushed me over the edge, you know, to make it a full-blown sickness instead of just something that might have just like withered away if I wouldn't have done it. And that's why I know I was talking to you about it, Luke, it's just so funny. Like I didn't work out one time last year. Like last year I was just working on this place. That was my workout. You know, I was just not working out, no lifting weights, no nothing, man. It was just a sloth in that department. And I didn't get sick one time. And then I started consistently working out this year, and I've been sick 2 times in 1 month, you know? And so you just like, you forget that working out is, I'm not saying working out is bad for you, of course, but working out stresses your immune system, you know?
Yeah, you got to be able to plan for that and try to not overdo it.
Yeah.
If you can. That's the hard thing.
And that's why, like with you guys, I was talking with, are we good on video and everything?
It might be overheating.
Okay, that's okay. We got the audio, so it is what it is. So I was talking with this girl the other day after class, and it was this girl and her mom, and she was like, yeah, like I don't know what to do, like how many days I should jump at Rise and how many days I should jump at my school, and how I should do the training and stuff like that. And I've got all this schoolwork and I work a job and all of these things. And she was like, man, and it's just so hard because I just get sick all the time. Like I just constantly get sick. And I'm like, well, that's because what I was just talking about, you're just completely stressing yourself to the point to where your immune system, your cup's too full and it's just overflowing, and like your immune system's like, well, I can protect you up to a certain point, but if you stress me beyond that point, I'm gonna crack, you know? And I told her, I was like, well, the reason that the guys who I train, Trevor and Luke, squat once a week is because I'm trying to mitigate that too much stress, you know? Like you squat once a week, you know, you squat early in the week, and it's a violent movement, especially if you put on a lot of weight. Like you the other day, I walked past the rack. I'm like, holy cow, dude, that's a lot of freaking weight. And immediately after Trevor's done with his workout, I was like, hey, how have you been feeling? Like, how's your body been feeling? Like, do you feel beat down at all, or do you feel like this or that? Because what I'm looking for is if you start to feel beat down because you did that squat workout, you're going to need 7 days to bounce back from that to squat again, you know? But the problem is a lot of people are under the assumption that more is better. So they squat on Monday, squat a lot of weight. Then they squat again on Wednesday. And then they deadlift on Friday. And it's like,
they vaulted on Tuesday and
Thursday.
Thursday.
They vaulted on Tuesday and Thursday, and they sprinted in between there, and they benched in between there, and they did pull-ups,
But
and they
they're
did
still
boot
not
cuts,
doing enough,
and they're working a job,
in their opinion.
and they're doing all of these things, and then they're like, yeah, I don't think I'm doing enough. What should I do? And then this is what they really don't want to hear. You should stop training so much. It's like, how could that get me better? How could that get me better? Guarantee if you reduce your load by 60%, guarantee you start vaulting better. Guarantee you don't get sick as often, if at all. You know, it's just they're doing
focused reps.
90%.
Focused rep versus just like reps.
90% of people out there are just doing too much.
Yeah.
They're just doing too much, man. You're not a bodybuilder. Like if you're a bodybuilder, okay, yeah, maybe you squat twice a week, or maybe you're a power lifter. Okay, maybe
They're still
squat
they're
twice a week.
not.
They're not though.
No.
They're not.
Like a power lifter is trying to lift heavy weight, knows if they're good enough, they know it takes 7 to 10 days to recover from like a heavy deadlift workout.
Yeah.
You know, or like
But these
a heavy
people,
squat workout.
These people think I'm going to squat on Monday and then squat on Wednesday. It's like, why can't I jump very well? You squatted, like you're squatting too much. I took a day off. A day? Dude, it takes a long time for your body to repair. It's just we're under this assumption that like if you have a good night's sleep and then rest one day, that everything's fine.
I had someone yesterday that the prior week, she was a little bit off. I asked her what she did. She said she maxed out her squat. I was like, okay, well, that's what's going on.
Right.
Don't do that before you get here.
Right.
And then this week, her step's way off. And I'm like, what'd you do before this? She's like, well, I maxed out power clean.
The tough part is that even if you're not sore from that and you come in the next day and you're like, oh, like my legs aren't sore, my body's not sore, I'm feeling good, I'm ready to go, your central nervous system is still like getting fried from those workouts.
Right.
That's like the main. I would say that's probably the main thing, because I could show up to a workout and sometimes be a little sore, but if my central nervous system, because I just hit like a season's best PR in squat and power clean in the same week, and I'm leading into a Friday vault day, like I need to just understand what to expect, and like understand, okay, hey, this is gonna be. That's why we do a really chill vault day on Fridays. But yeah, exactly, like. You could be a little sore, but if you're coming in sore and you just hit your central nervous system to its max, like, that's
do you
not
think that if you're sore, your central nervous system's not taxed? If you're sore,
Yeah,
that's
probably.
an indicator. Your body's like, hey, you're not going to be performing at your best.
Yeah.
I'm trying to repair all those muscles that you broke up the other day. And the other thing that's scary that with me personally that I have felt and dealt with a lot in my athletic career is the way that my body works. Like some people, it seems like maybe they react this way and some people don't, but DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness. I will squat. The next day, I will feel nothing. Zero. And then the following day, I will completely be crushed. It's so crazy. Like it really happens like that for me. It is 1 day delay. Like, and I don't know why that is. I have some theories as to why that is, but that is really scary because you do it and then the next day you wake up and you're like, dude, I feel fine. I feel totally fine. And then you don't realize what's happening in the background. So then you go and you train again, and then all of a sudden, boom, now that sets in, and then you're sick, like because you train too much or whatever. And that's you gotta, I think people really need to take away from this that you're most likely, unless you're an elite athlete that is being trained by somebody who knows what they're doing, you are most likely undertraining or overtraining. What do you think the percentage is of people in the United States who are overtraining?
For pole vaulters specifically?
It's everybody.
Oh, like every athlete.
Just every athlete.
Every athlete. 80.
I was gonna say 90.
80, 90%. And the other thing too, and I'll stop my rant here, but the other thing too is I've always had a hard time with, it's not a knock on college coaches, but there's just this thing where high school coaches will be like, well, wait till you get to college. Wait till you get on a college program. Wait till you get on a college program. It may not be like that, but whenever I was younger, it was when you go to college, they just completely destroy you. Like, it was just like, you show up and it's like, okay, we're just going to crush you. Well, this is what a college program's like. This is what we do in college. And I'm like, man, that's really
and
far
then you
off the mark.
wonder why, like, some kids have a hard time transitioning to college.
They have a hard time transitioning to college. So that's another thing too, that it's these kids, they go to college. They may train hard in high school, but then they go to college and then in the fall they're doing 300 repeats. They're doing like a bunch of back squats, a bunch of these lifts that they maybe have never done before, and their bodies are just getting beat down. And then what happens whenever your body is beat down? Your body thinks that it's dying. And then it's like, okay, every single calorie that you put into me, I am holding on to it as tightly as I possibly can, because I know that I'm going to need it because you continually are beating the crap out of me. You know what I'm saying? And so then all of a sudden it's like, what the heck? I'm training really, really hard, and I'm getting overweight, and I'm getting like fat or whatever my freshman year. And it's like, you wouldn't think it, but if you start training less, your body's going to release those extra calories, because you're sending the signal to your body. When you're training like that, super, super hard every day, day in and day out, you're sending the signal to your body that you are going to encounter a lot of stress tomorrow. And your body's going to hold on to reserves so that it makes sure that you have enough energy for the next day. Now, if you tell your body, you send the signal like, hey, we're gonna beat you up a little bit today. And then your body understands that the next couple days, it's not going to undergo that stress. It's going to be more likely to release that. It's all about signaling your body. That's what I think.
There's some college coaches out there that do a really good job
of
like,
absolutely.
Doing that. I think the hard thing is whenever you're in a program that a lot of the training, let's just say a pole vaulter, that a lot of the training that a pole vaulter specifically needs to do, they're being, like, all of the track athletes are being put in the same program with a strength program, which I understand a little bit because it is a team, but then you're not tailoring the program to a pole vaulter who it kind of matters a lot more to maintain that power to body weight ratio. And you may not understand that as much as, I don't know. I mean, it matters a lot with sprinting speed too. I'm not trying to say that it doesn't, but I guess with a pole vaulter, it's like, hey, we need to maintain that high bar strength. It's a lot harder to be really strong on the high bar if you've got 30 extra pounds below your waist because you've been doing 5 sets of 10 or 6 sets of 10 super heavy squats, and your body's like getting torn down. So it makes me feel good whenever we have a vaulter who comes up to us and wants to go to a college that's we've like known the coach or have a relationship with the coach, and we know that coach is like specifically training those vaulters, or at least has a lot of knowledge on what we do and what kind of works for the athletes that got them to where they're at this point,
100%. Yeah, that split off of like that would be difficult. Actually, so Michigan State, so like, did your pole vault coach talk with your strength coach?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
so
that's
my-
the best
my-
case scenario.
I think my freshman and sophomore year, my pole vault coach, who was just a jumps coach, wrote all of our weight training for us also. And then either my junior or my senior year, he started to work with the football trainer, the football strength coach. And so they would like collaborate on our lifts together.
That's awesome.
And that the lifts didn't change a whole lot, but the kind of the programming did, where we would kind of be able to like our sets and reps would move down as we got closer to like the Big Ten meet and nationals and stuff like that. And towards the beginning of the season, we'd have like higher reps, higher weight, or higher reps, lower weight.
Right.
I guess it's kind of like what we do with the cycles, where it's 4-week cycles, but it was just stretched out over like the whole indoor season instead of just the 4-week cycles that we do.
Right. Yeah, man, it's crazy. We probably got to get out of here because we have a meet tomorrow, and probably should set up a couple things. But really quick, so what do you like? Where do we want to go in 24? Is there anything? Yeah. Is there anything? I'm just trying to think of like, what are some things, some goals, and just some things that we think we want to do in 24.
Well, I'd like to do another one of these.
Yeah.
And it'd be really cool if we could get a permanent setup
With the podcast.
with the podcast.
That'd be cool, like
Yeah.
a studio.
Yeah, have the studio set up with the couches.
Yeah.
Have these things right there, just plug and play.
Yeah, and we want people. I really, with the podcast, I just am having a hard time with doing them remotely, and I just really like all the content that we get whenever it's in person. Like the Katarina one, like it just looks nice, it sounds nice. It's not like you're not watching somebody on a webcam. Like it just looks a lot better, and I just think the interaction is a lot better too. So that's what I would really like to do. Is I'd like to try to see if we could get some people, some elites in here, or people that we would find interesting to talk to. Like get them in here and actually do like a real podcast, like we're doing now, and like we did with Katarina and stuff like that. I also would like to be able to figure out what we're going to do with that area over there. So that's just that's another one of my.
No one knows about that area because we don't include it in any of the videos
Any of the
for a
videos,
reason.
Yeah, right.
I'd like to see if we could get a girl over 14 and a boy over 18.
That would be pretty gnarly.
High school.
That would be gnarly. I think it's
So
definitely possible.
I don't know who the boy over 18 would be, but
Yeah. That
we'll
would.
have to find that out.
I think that would be difficult. You gotta be gripping pretty high.
Yeah.
Beyond that, you can't be squatting 3 times a week.
You can't be squatting 3 times a week.
Vaulting 7 days a week.
I think finding some way to open the schedule up a little bit too, like getting a third pit or something like that, so that there's more room for people to move around and maybe some more members to come in too.
Yeah. That's been a tough one. What's really crazy is we're like a year and a half into this facility, and it's like, hey, how could we make, get more people to be able to jump here and things like that.
I think a goal would be to, like you said, just try to see if we could get some more elites to come out and jump here. We haven't had an opportunity really for them to, so that's on us, but like just whether it be a training block of having them out for a week or whatever, or having a meet of some sort, getting elites into the building and filming podcasts, filming, content and stuff like that. I think that's something that should be, on our to-do list.
Yeah. Hey, if any elites want to come out, we will film some good content of you. So if you want some free good content,
yeah, 100%.
come out here.
Yeah, it would be really, really cool. Yeah, I think I think that would be really awesome. So we could do like a podcast while they're out here. It would be nice if we could do podcasts, we can do content, we can do a whole bunch of cool stuff. I think it would probably have to be like some sort of meet or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking the other day too, like, why don't I have you guys jump in like any of our meets, you know?
Yeah, it's just like who would coach.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Because we're,
Very
you know,
good
you got
point.
us four coaches, and we coach.
40% of our coaches would be gone.
Yeah, 40% of the coaches would be gone, and
True that.
it'd be nice to figure out a way to do that though, because it would make the most
no.
sense to just have
50%.
Yeah, 50%.
I was way
It'd be nice to have
Oh, no,
like
40.
the summer championships or Rise Fest, like have some other, because that's summer champs and Rise Fest. There's no meets around that time.
Yeah,
in the
I think
US
that would
usually.
be a really, really good. I think Rise Fest would be pretty sick.
Yeah, so it'd be really cool to get people out for that and try to see if we can make that happen. And I mean, all of our meets have been USATF sanctioned. I know you got to do World Athletic sanctioning and stuff like that at times now too, but we're doing our best, folks.
Yeah, let's get it going. All right, boys, let's set up for this meet tomorrow.
All right.
Thank you.
Let's do
All
it.
right, guys. Thank you. It's One More Jump podcast. Bye.